The ball is on the 25, and it is 1st and 10. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are regrading the 2023 NFL Draft. Not 1, but 2 years later. Metro, are you ready to go?
100%. We're going to be going every single team, starting at 32, going to number 1, giving them a grade. Let's hop into it.
All right, starting off at the top, we're actually going to go 32 to 1. But Metro, in this year's draft, 32 was, forfeited is the word.
Yep, it was.
The team, the Miami Dolphins, they lost their pick for tampering with Sean Payton and Tom Brady's agent. And Metro, what is our grade for people who tamper and cheat in the NFL draft and in all of football?
We do not allow, or we do not tolerate cheaters. We do not tolerate evil men who are corrupting the NFL game. We give it an F- for being evil and ruthless. Speaking of which, who was their coach at the time that they were trying to replace? Was that
It's a great question.
I forgot. Could you imagine being the coach and then realizing that they're trying to hire Sean Payton and Tom Brady to take your job,
dude,
just for you to lose a first-round pick?
Brian Flores I'm seeing, but then he was who was like 2020.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it was Brian Flores. So, and there was already like rumors of like Tua and him not liking each other. So it kind of makes sense, but you don't tamper, Dolphins. This is what you get. Can't do it.
It's funny. You think of the Miami Dolphins. Nobody thinks of cheaters. Nobody thinks of evil people. But they're low key since 2020. They've been kind of fishy with certain things. You said something happened in 2019 too.
What are you saying?
2019, there was the you just talked about it.
I was talking about Tom Brady, Sean Payton, and that was around. Oh yes, 2019 they got proven for improving their draft stock from purposely tanking. Which, guys, we all know, like week 18, like everybody kind of does it if it really doesn't matter. But you don't tell your boss that, and that's what they did. So that combined said not only a 3rd round pick, we're also going to take a 1st round pick from you, and F- for the Miami Dolphins. Shall we go to 31?
Yep, and good luck with this name.
Thank you, brother. At 31, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who took Felix Anudike Uzama out of Kansas State, the defensive end. I think I did all right there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of slowed it down like a 4th grader does, but it worked out. So, Metro, I'll let you kick it off. What did you give for Felix, the defensive end? What was your grade?
Yeah, this was a very weird pick at the time because he was definitely somebody who I felt like was a bit of a project player, and thus far through his career, he hasn't really lived up to the hype. He hasn't really gotten a lot of playing time at all. Like, he has been pretty consistently, he had 332 snaps last year, 2023, only 218. So not a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, with those opportunities, he hasn't really been making the most of them. Last year, just 3 sacks. The year prior, just 1 sack. PFF has him 60.5 pass rush grade last year. 2023 is rookie season, 52.3. So it's a make or break year for him. This is a guy that you gotta show something. Like, you have to get 5 sacks. You have to be on the field more. I would say the good news for him is that its offensive line for Kansas City has an opening. It feels like it has spots for somebody like him to finally get there. He's only 23, so hopefully the best is yet to come. But I gave this one a D+ just because I'm not feeling too confident about this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Gave it a D. Like you said, we need to see something this year. Otherwise, it's going to be an F, and that's just what it is. Your 1st round pick, we need to see some kind of production, whether that's his fault or the team's fault. It's somewhere in between, obviously. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of snaps, but I do want to see more in 2025, like we all do, especially the Chiefs and Felix himself. Anything else you want to say here? Or are you ready to go to pick number 30?
What was your grade for?
My grade was a D. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on to Nolan, Mr. Nolan Smith.
Yeah, man, Nolan Smith. The Philadelphia Eagles take him at 30 overall, and at the time, this was kind of maybe not the start, but when we saw Nolan Smith fall to 30, we knew he was an athletic freak. This guy was a monster at the combine to take you back to 2023. Everybody apparently wanted him until draft night, and he slid all the way to 30, and we're like, okay, let's let the Eagles get another stud. Metro, what was your grade here for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, this started off in 2023 very slow. He just in general did not get a lot of playing time in 2023. Only 187 snaps, 1 sack. Did not show too much. But then last year in 2024, his productivity, his time on the field increased significantly. 546 total snaps last year, 7 total sacks, 11 assisted tackles, a forced fumble, 70.2 pass rush, 77.6 run defense grade. Obviously, Philadelphia made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Nolan Smith kind of played a bit of a role with that. You lose Josh Sweat. That defensive line in general lost some pieces. It now looks like Nolan Smith should be the Josh Sweat replacement. So I think this is a good pickup. I mean, to get a guy who might end up being a starting edge rusher at 30. Again, like you mentioned, he was a bit of a combine warrior, just a freak athlete, but a little undersized, and he was coming off an injury, so teams were a little worried about that. And a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, again, they take that risky bet. They did it with Carter. They just did it with Jahad Campbell, and it's been working out for them. So this is a nice pickup. I give it a B minus, just because he hasn't quite yet put it all together, but this has a possibility of really improving to like more of a B plus or A minus in the future.
Well said, sir. And yes, I gave this a C plus just because, like you said, he has been contributing. Like, I think he had a studly play in the Super Bowl, as we all saw. He is a real asset to this D-line, what do you call it, stable pass rush rotation. When he's on the field, he's got fresh legs and he's ready to go. So Nolan Smith is a game changer for their defense. Is he at the level he needs to be? In my opinion, I think he still has more to go. So I'm going to give this a C plus right now, waiting to see more. But as of right now, you get a guy like Nolan Smith at 30, you are extremely happy in the draft.
Yep. Brian Bresee?
Yeah. The man, the New Orleans Saints take him here at, is it? I keep messing it up. I'm on ESPN's page. It says 29/30. This is going to be 29, correct? Because they lost a pick.
Yeah, it's 29. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just sorry. Got to get it straight in my head. 29.
It's confusing.
29. We have the Saints taking Brian Bresee, the D tackle. And guys, I'll come out with my grade. I gave this a B plus. Last year he came out and had a pretty damn good year. 7.5 sacks, 25 combined tackles, and 8 assisted. I thought it was pretty solid. A pretty damn good contribution from your D tackle on the interior. What did you think, Metro, on Brian?
Did you follow Brian Bresee through high school?
I did not.
So Brian Bresee he was one of the craziest recruits I've ever seen. He comes out, there were plays of him quite literally like suplexing dudes, like throwing them in the air. Like tonight, after we're done recording this, go look up Brian Bresee high school highlights. This dude was a freaking monster. Gets to Clemson. He spends a few years there, was fine, was a good player. Goes to New Orleans, and you've seen signs of him being that monster. He has really struggled against the run, but as a pass rusher, he has sometimes put together some really nice tape. So I'm of the opinion that there is more to come from this guy. He's only 23 years of age, so even though he's just right now not very good against the run, at the bare minimum, you are getting a guy who can get to the quarterback. He did have 8 sacks last year in 2023, 5 sacks. So if he can just become like league average as a run defender, he could end up being a full-time starter for this team. As of right now, more of a rotational body, which is a little disappointing given his level of talent, but I gave it a C+ just because I want to see him kind of put it all together. I do think this is a player, though, that if given time, if given more help around him, because frankly, New Orleans is not a very deep defensive line team, so if they can find those guys around him, I do think Brian Bresee will end up being a somewhat worthy pickup. So I gave it a C+.
Very nice, very nice. Let's go on to our next team, who is going to be the Bengals at 28. They take Myles Murphy, the DN out of Clemson. Metro, at the time, this is Myles freaking Murphy. This dude's 6'5", 268 coming out of the NFL draft. And yes, he was in my opinion, I feel like in most opinions, he was a project long-term. Can we take this awesome athlete and develop him correctly? Metro, what'd you give here for Myles Murphy?
Yeah, he has been pretty disappointing. This was a guy who we all kind of thought initially maybe would be more of a rotational body, but as time would go on, he'd kind of take over that lead role next to Trey Hendrickson. And it just hasn't happened so far. He has just not been on the field too often. When he has been, he's been very quiet. He hasn't really developed as that situational pass rusher that they wanted him to be. He's, I guess, okay against the run. He's an okay pass rusher, but you haven't seen anything that is worthy of a first-round pick. So I give this one a D. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on him here, but I mean, it's your second year. I haven't really seen anything from you, and it doesn't seem like the team has a bunch of confidence in you either because they just drafted Shamar Stewart, who's probably going to be your replacement, and you'll probably just be a rotational body, barring a big time third year. So yeah, I give this one a D. I mean, to me, it speaks numbers as to how much Cincinnati prioritized getting an edge rusher. So I gave this one a D.
Right there with you. I did give this a D plus for Myles Murphy here at 28. Now, last year he did have 3 sacks. We saw some improvement, just not the level you want or expect out of a first-round pick. So more to be seen here. I keep saying that for the past couple picks, but when you take these swings in the late first round with high upside guys, it's typically how you go. Year 3 or year 4, you want to see it all come together. You ready to go to the next team?
Yeah, real quick, we probably should have done this at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
These players are only in their second year.
Yes.
So we got to give them a lot more time. We're only doing this from what we know right now. For all we know, these guys who end up getting low grades 3 years from now may end up being like the best at their position. So just give them time. They still have more years to develop.
That's right. We don't want to ever write somebody off like Metro mentioned. These guys, football is a very developmental sport, and it should be encouraged to develop, and we do that here. But just as of today, as of May 18th, 2025, this is where we have them graded. Let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars here at the 27th pick in the first round. Anton Harrison, the Oklahoma O tackle.
Yeah, this Jaguars team, it's hard to watch. It's been a hard watch these past few years. With that said, Anton Harrison has developed nicely. He was a project player year 1 his rookie year. Definitely showed some glimpses of being a good player, but he just looked a little bit over his head at times. I thought last year he took a nice step forward. He's a really solid athlete that can just consistently stay in front of guys. Only gave up 4 sacks, has been fairly healthy for most of his career so far, so he's been out there. He's been a starting right tackle for them. It's a productive pickup. I think he's still improving. I think there's still growth for him to get to a point where he may end up at some point being considered like a top 10 right tackle in the league. If not, he might already be so already. So even though Jacksonville is typically a hard watch, I do find Anton Harrison to be one of those guys that is entertaining. And now that you have Travis Hunter, it's going to be a lot more fun to watch him. So I gave this one a B, and you could probably talk me into a B plus if he has a good year next year.
Always got to love, I'm a big O-line guy, so you got to love when they develop and it works out in the first round. Anton Harrison is going to get a B from us. Next, we have Metro's favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys here at 26. They take Mazi Smith out of Michigan, U of M, the D tackle. And Metro, I know you have some very nice words to say, so I'll start it off for you. Mazi Smith, from everything I've heard and everything I've seen, hasn't panned out like we've expected. We want a absolute force in the middle. We did not get that. This was a pick that Cowboy fans are very sure to bring up. If you bring up their draft history, you compliment, they're like, hey, Cowboys, you draft pretty well. They're like, well, did you see Mazi Smith? Did you see Taco? They let you know pretty fast, but I don't want to dunk on Mazi. I did give him a C- because I think he does help in some aspects of the run game. For sure, he's an anchor, but we didn't see what we expected in the first round. Metro, as the Cowboys fan, you see all the stuff in the background. What did you think on Mazi Smith?
Yeah, this is a bad pick, just in general. He's huge, 6'3", 337, but he gets pushed off the ball really easily. He is basically a nothing in pass rush. Like, through his career, he has 3 sacks total, and 90% of those sacks, or not 90, all of those sacks are because Micah Parsons was, screaming off the edge, and Mazi just kind of cleaned up his work. I mean, Mazi has almost 0 pass rush moves. Part of that's just because he's so damn big, and part of that's just because he's not very nuanced. But you would think for somebody who's as big as he is, he'd be good enough against the run. And Dallas has really struggled to stuff the run, primarily because of this pick. He just has not worked out. I know there's a lot of excuses out there because his first year they had him drop weight. His second year he picked up the weight, and he was getting adjusted to it. So I saw a picture of him, I think 3 weeks ago or something along those lines, where he was looking pretty jacked. So it's to me, it's a make-or-break year. The Cowboys did not seriously address nose tackle. I mean, they brought in, I think, somebody from, UCLA. Don't quote me on that. But they brought in somebody to maybe fill that spot. So for Mazi, I mean, your job might be on the line. You just got to be good against the run. That's literally all Dallas is asking of you. So I gave this one a D. It's just not a very good pickup. And, I mean, to be fair, all of the defensive linemen taken right after him outside of Nolan Smith haven't really panned out. So it's not like it's not one of those situations where you say, well, they could have took this guy, but like Taco, and when they took Taco, they could have took freaking T.J. Watt, which just haunts me every single day. Could you imagine T.J. Watt with Micah Parsons? Nasty. Just filthy.
Imagine where the Cowboys would be today. NFC
Super Bowl champions. Oh, yeah.
Honestly, they might. TJ's pretty nasty. Can't even lie.
With TJ Watt and Micah Parsons, like, how are you? Like, that's just. Now, granted, I don't know. Dallas has had some really good players, and they've struggled, so maybe not.
They always find a couple stars, and I feel very good about your draft. This is a sidebar. Your draft this year, I guarantee you one star is going to hit from those three third-round picks. Yeah. Let's go to our next team, the Buffalo Bills. This one's very interesting. 25 overall, they take Dalton Kincaid, the Utah tight end. Metro, I started last time. What was your grade on Dalton Kincaid? Because we can go a lot of different ways here.
Yeah, I love the idea of Dalton Kincaid, a smaller, shiftier receiving tight end option. Pair that up with who you already have in that room, who's a bit more of a blocker. It just hasn't really panned out to the extent that you would want it to. I think it's worked out in the extent that he's been a productive player who's been at least capable of starting and getting playing time. But I think if you were to ask Bills fans if they feel like Dalton Kincaid has lived up to the hype they had when he came out of college or came into the draft, I'd venture to say that most Bills fans would say probably not. So he's not necessarily a bust because he's playing and he's starting playoff games and he's making some nice plays, but he also hasn't really been worth the pick because he's not even really technically their tight end one. I mean, even though they run a lot of 12 personnel and he gets a lot of playing time. So this is an interesting one. I expected more from Kincaid. I gave this one a C just because he's getting playing time. He's not going to be off the roster next year. He's not a terrible player. This could just be a situation where maybe they're not utilizing him properly, or maybe he just, it wasn't worth the pick. I don't know.
Well said, brother. Dalton Kincaid, in history, tight ends take longer to develop. You go back until you have guys like Sam Laporta that show up, as well as Brock Bowers. But before that, it was pretty, I guess you can include Kyle Pitts. Maybe? I don't know.
For 1 year.
Yeah, exactly, off of 1 year. But with that being said, tight ends historically take about 3, 4, sometimes even 5 years to develop. I'm going to hold my breath here. C+ for me personally. Like you said, he's contributing, he's playing, and then playoffs happen. We've seen some missed plays and just not fully becoming his final form. I'm sure this frustrates Bills fans much more than the average fan in the NFL. I will leave it at a C+, looking to see much more here in year 3.
For sure. Deonte Banks.
Deonte Banks for the New York Giants here at 24 overall in the first round. Out of Maryland. Metro, you went first. I will go next. I gave this pick a D. I do not think Deonte Banks has been he hasn't contributed well in my opinion. I think he's been solid at times, but we haven't seen the lockdown corner we expected and the kind of upside of the athlete Deonte Banks was. Just a miss overall, and that's okay. You got to take shots with that kind of athleticism. What did you think on Deonte Banks, Metro?
Yeah, I gave this a C-. He has, like you mentioned, he has shown glimpses, he's shown flashes. He hasn't really put it all together, and there were times last year where there was effort issues. There was just trying to make the right play issues. There was times where he had to get pulled. And, this offseason, you bring in a bunch of new secondary members like Holland and the dude, Paulson Adebo. And it's kind of now or never for Deonte Banks because I think if he has another down year, this Giants team is probably going to prioritize bringing in a cornerback. So, like I mentioned, I gave it a C-. I think he's shown some glimpses of being a capable guy. But, man, he has to put it together. He's got to be more consistent. He just has to be better in coverage. He has shown glimpses of being really solid at times. I mean, he's well-sized, solid athlete. The reason why I didn't give this a D is because at least he's still a starter, right? Compare that to some of these guys down below where they're not even starting. So Banks at least has a shot to potentially raise his stock if he has a good year next year. And I still believe in him. It's just my faith is dwindling.
I get it. Now that you have Abdul Carter off the edge, things could get a little bit easier when the ball's in the air. Quarterbacks don't have as much time to think. They work together hand in hand. If the path is for Deonte Banks, that will be the path for him. Let's go. Go ahead.
going along those lines too, bringing in Paulson Adebo as your cornerback 1 moves Banks into more of that second corner. So he might have easier matchups, which maybe could in turn put him in better situations. So the situation's perfect for him. His front 7 is dominant. There's so many good players there. You now have help in the secondary. Your safeties are good. You have other good corners. So the excuses are running out for Deontay, and I think that if there was a year to put it all together, it would be this upcoming year.
Yes, sir. Let's go to 23. The Minnesota Vikings take Jordan Addison, the USC wide receiver. Jordan Addison, in his breakout rookie year, the guy had just over 900 yards, 70 receptions, and 10 touchdowns, a touchdown machine. We all know, if you play fantasy football, that Jordan Addison was a monster in his rookie year. Following that, 2024, 800 yards and 9 touchdowns, a very solid season as well. Metro, I gave this a B+. I don't think you can ask for much more in the back of the first round. Addison has contributed at a very high level. Does he have the amount of talent to be a number 1 overall wide receiver? Probably not quite that, but he is a fantastic number 2. What did you want to give here for Jordan Addison?
Yeah, we're about to talk a lot of receivers because the next 3, well, including this one, the next 4 picks are receivers. It's so bizarre to see this draft and there's just like a big block of 4 receivers. Typically it's more spread out, but not this year. Yeah, I give this one a B. Like you said, I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. Now, granted, in certain situations, in certain schemes, maybe he could be that go-to guy. I think he's very talented. He's clearly shown it with Minnesota. Last year, dealt with some injuries, came back, and was balling out. The only thing that's kind of keeping me away from that B+ is, and maybe I'm just reading too much into the tea leaves. Maybe I'm reading the rumor mill too much, but it kind of sounds like Jordan Addison wants out of there. So now, I don't know if that's true or not. I hope it's not because the situation's perfect for him. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the only thing keeping me from a B+. But as a wide receiver 2, I mean, he's one of, if I wouldn't say he's the best, but he's for sure one of the best wide receiver 2s in the NFL. And him and Justin Jefferson sometimes can be magical. So I give it a good old B.
Very good grade there for Jordan Addison. Let's go at 22. We have the Baltimore Ravens. They selected Zay Flowers, another wide receiver like we just mentioned, out of Boston College. Metro, what did you give this firepower for the Baltimore offense?
Yeah, Zay Flowers is just, like you said, firepower at its best. I gave Zay Flowers a B+. He is technically, quote-unquote, their wide receiver 1, and he's proven it. Last year, over 1,000 yards. Year prior, 858. He's been healthy, been a productive player, has been Lamar Jackson's go-to guy. Only thing keeping me from an A on this one is just that I don't think he's a high-level wide receiver 1. I think he's kind of a middle to lower tier wide receiver 1, which is fine. You picked him in the 20s, so it was a good pickup. You also got him right behind 2 other receivers, so the value was also pretty nice. So I gave it a B+. I definitely do think he is a very talented player with a lot of great years left to go.
Well said, brother. Zay Flowers for me, I gave him a B, and I gave Addison a B+, I believe. So I have him just a little bit lower. Why is that? I just see more upside in Addison personally, which is probably wrong because Zay Flowers is already a wide receiver 1 and doing it well. That's just what I see with my eyes. But he's contributed in every way he possibly could for this Baltimore offense, and that was the assignment he needed when he showed up. They needed a wide receiver to help their man Lamar Jackson, and it has happened very nicely with Zay Flowers. Let's go to the Los Angeles Chargers at 21. They take another wide receiver. We have another one after this, of course, but here we're going to talk about QJ at a TCU, the wide receiver. QJ, all right? We know the memes. We know everything. We've seen the drops. It's been rough. Last year, though, QJ actually had a pretty good year. Metro, I'm going to pull up the stats real quick. Metro looked pretty nice. QJ had 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's not bad, Metro. That's not bad at all. Now, how did he get it done? Maybe not in the most perfect, I don't know. He didn't execute at the highest level, right? He's still having drops, still having this, kind of having mishaps. It's okay. QJ overall has been disappointing, if we're being honest, and not the wide receiver 1 we wanted for the Chargers. I did give this a D just because we need to see it fully coming into fruition, and maybe it does. It's going to be harder with all those weapons now in the room. What did you give QJ, Mr. Metro?
Yeah, I don't know why I've always been higher on Quentin Johnston than the average fan out there. It feels like every time I talk Chargers, it's Quentin Johnston memes in the chat. But I've always said that I think Quentin Johnston was a developmental piece. He is not somebody that should be utilized like a guy that's built like Quentin Johnston. He's 6'4", but he doesn't play like he's 6'4". And I never thought he was a first-round talent. I kind of thought he was more like a day two guy who you have to sort of scheme his way open. You have to scheme him looks. And I feel like the Chargers took a step in the right direction last year, like especially Quentin Johnston. 711 yards, like you mentioned, 8 touchdowns. It felt like they used him in different ways than what they did the previous year. I don't know if he'll ever be a wide receiver one, but I think if you're telling me he can be similar to like Deebo Samuel next to Brandon Ayuk, I think that's a great role for him. So I give it a C. Clearly, he's not a wide receiver one. Clearly, they should have took Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison. But for what it's worth, I do think Quentin Johnston is a fine player who paired up with some other good receivers like Ladd McConkey and who else they got, then I think QJ could be very good. So for pick 21, a little disappointing, but in terms of the player himself, maybe I'm just biased. But I see a bit of some upside here to put it all together. But I do think he needs to really put it together this upcoming year because there's going to be a lot of people calling for his job if he has another drop.
For sure. No. We don't want to see more memes. We want QJ to win, man. We want him to succeed.
Yep.
At pick 20, the real 21, this was the Dolphins. Dolphins don't cheat is what you could have had. You could have had one of these awesome wide receivers to pair with one of yours, but you already had wide receivers, so you're good to go. Anyways, let's go to 20. We had the Seattle Seahawks taking arguably the best one here. JSN out of Ohio State, the wide receiver phenom. His last year, he had in 2024, 1,100 yards, 100 receptions, and 6 touchdowns. An awesome year, a wide receiver 1 year for JSN. Now, Metro, I went first for QJ, so what did you give on your grade for JSN?
Yeah, I give it an A. It's not an A+ because he's not the upper echelon of wide receiver ones. Like, he's not a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown-like guy. But that next tier, he's somewhere along those lines. Like, he is a very good wide receiver one. I think he plays his role very nicely as that guy who can play in the slot, guy who can play on the outside. He can make big plays. He just constantly finds ways to get open. He's reliable. I mean, last year in a crowded receiving room with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, still had 1,100 yards. This year, his role is to be the number one guy. Like, he's playing next to Cooper Kupp, who's a fantastic player, but at this stage of his career is better suited as a second option. JSN is clearly the number one receiver. And compared to like a Zay Flowers, who's also the wide receiver one, I think JSN's a slightly better player. So that's why I have JSN an A, Zay Flowers a B+. I'm a little bit higher on the upside of Jackson Smith and Jigba, especially with the offense that he's going to be a part of, and especially with Sam Darnold, who will probably force feed JSN a lot of football. So I think it's a very good pickup, and the fact that they took him one of the 4 options makes it a smidge more impressive too, because you can make the argument that maybe the Ravens were forced to take Zay Flowers because he was the one that was available, whereas JSN was taken when every single receiver was available. So good pickup. I give it an A.
Very nice. Let's move forward. Sorry, I have to give a grade. I also give them an A. JSN was pretty sweet, man. It's cool to see him really come to fruition. Yes, in the first year, there were a lot of rumors like, is JSN going to be the guy? Because he didn't quite have the year we expected as a rookie. He was super hyped coming out of that 2023 year as a draft pick. But guys, 2024, he lit it up. Like I said, 1,100 yards, 100 receptions, really good year. Give us an A. Good stuff for the Seattle Seahawks. And overall, Metro, they saved a boatload of money with DK Metcalf. That is also a ripple effect from this pick, and I think that should not be understated. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Kalijah Kancey. They picked up him, the D tackle out of Pittsburgh. Now, Metro, in Kancey's last year, he had 7.5 sacks, and in his rookie year, he had 4 sacks. I gave this personally a B. He has impacted the team in a solid way. Metro, what do you think here for Kalijah Kancey?
Yeah, I give it a B too, just simply because of his pass rush ability. He is honestly kind of a negative as a run defender. He's just not put it together quite yet. PFF has him, let me pull it up. They had him as a 36.2 run defense grade last year, and in 2023, a 29.8. It's gotten to the point where the Bucs basically take him off on first downs. And so this is one of those interesting picks where kind of like Brian Brisset, where you're banking on the upside of his pass rush, really kind of bringing him over the top. If he can just become a capable run defender, like really just like an average run defender, this guy will be a full-time starter. Just happens to be he plays next to Vita Vea, so he doesn't get exposed too much because Vita Vea is one of the best run stuffers in the NFL. But at some point, I think Kalijah has to be a better run defender. But right now, on third downs, on obvious pass situation, you put Kalijah out there. He's constantly putting pressure on quarterbacks, like you mentioned, 7.5 sacks last year. So I gave it a B just simply because it's hard to find interior pass rushers quite like Kancey.
Well said, brother. Well said. Next we have the Detroit Lions at 18, taking an unconventional pick here with the linebacker and Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Now, Metro, my grades here are going to be skewed because I'm a Lions fan, as we all know. Well, we don't all know, but now you know. Coming out of the draft, he was 6'5", 250, and the dude could absolutely move. Now, he's a linebacker, right? How much damage can you truly do back there? I think he's been pretty damn impactful. I give this a B- on my end. When he is on the field, he helps all assets of the run game and the pass game. He's quick enough to cover, not his strong suit, but he can. And then also, he is very, very good. Great in pursuit in the run game. What did you give Jack Campbell for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, I'm going to take everything you just said and kind of spew it back out. He really solid against the run, decent in pass coverage. I give it a B+. I think, I give it a B+. I don't really take positional value into account for myself. If you get a good player, you get a good player, especially later down the board. Now, if they took Jack Campbell 4th overall, we'd have some problems there. But they took him at 18. It ended up working out quite nicely for him. And I think the best is yet to come for Jack. I think at some point we'll consider him like a top 10 linebacker in the league if he's not already there. So good pickup for the Lions.
Gotta love it. Let's go, Brad Holmes. Next we have, oh man, this pick's sweet. The New England Patriots take Christian Gonzalez here, the cornerback out of Oregon. He was a draft day slide, whether you want to admit it or not. When this happened live, it was shocking, at least to me personally. Now, Metro, I yapped for last pick. What did you have for Christian Gonzalez?
Yeah, he's a stud. The fact he fell was just ridiculous. I give it an A- because he had an injury at some point, and but last year he played really solid. He's just a really good corner. Like, he's a true cornerback 1, and it's kind of ironic when you look ahead at pick 16 and compare the situations. We'll get there when we get there, but Christian Gonzalez is, your long-term answer at cornerback. He's a total stud, makes a lot of plays. So, I gave it an A-. I don't really know why I gave it A-. I could have gave it an A, but just A-.
Very nice. A- from Metro. I'm going to give this pick an A. Like you mentioned, contributing like he did as a cornerback 1 in his rookie year and then also pretty well in his sophomore year. That is rare, especially at the corner position. That is the hardest position in all of football. Quarterback, yeah, it's pretty hard too, but corner is the real stuff. Dude's a beast. He'll be there long term, especially with Vrabel in the building now. Love the pick. Really going to help this defense out very, very, very long time. As you mentioned, let's go to pick 16. Do you have something else to say? Sorry, I saw you open your mouth.
No, you're good. You're good.
Cool. Pick 16. We have the Commanders taking Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback out of Mississippi State. Now, this one has not quite been what we expected. Forbes, pretty much on all his grades on PFF, is dead last, or if not dead last, like in the bottom 10. Metro here getting an F out of me. Just didn't work out, and that's all I can say.
Can we play a game real quick? What team does he play for nowadays?
Oh,
because he just signed with somebody, and I
didn't
even know he signed there.
Cheating.
Oh, do you know where he plays?
I do, and I would not have expected that.
The LA Rams. He's going to be probably on their practice squad. Look, it's unfortunate. I don't think Emmanuel Forbes is a terrible, terrible, terrible player or talent. It's just he got way overly drafted and put in probably the worst situation imaginable, where this guy needed years of development, years in the weight room, years just putting on muscle, but both in the right way. But the Commanders took him at 16 and instantly kind of threw him out there in the fire. And I think they really set him up for failure in a lot of ways.
This is true.
I think with the LA Rams, now I don't know if the Rams are going to seriously trying to invest in Forbes at this point, but I kind of hope they do, because there is a foundational player there, or a foundation of a player there in Emmanuel Forbes that I think it could be a good, contributor on a team. It's just that he was put into a terrible situation and it did not work. I gave it, on my thing I have D-. That's just simply because I'm being nice, but it's an F. I got to give it an F. He is no longer on the team that drafted him. I thought at 16 it was insane value. For context, I had a day 3 grade on him.
Wow.
So for him to go at 16, when that pick happened, I remember I literally was sitting down. They read the card, and there was a lot of hype regarding Emmanuel Forbes, and I was just like, dude, this guy is years away from being starting for you. And the commissioner read the pick. I literally sat up and ran out of my room. Because I'm a Cowboys fan, so I was ecstatic. I was like, yeah, this guy's going to be an absolute bust for these guys. And, of course, I'm rooting for the best for the guy. I'm not trying to prey on his downfall or anything, but it's just that was the case. So this ended up being a costly pick for the Commanders because, they've been looking for that cornerback, and they have some guys now. But, yeah, I give it an F. If you want to be nice, he's still in the NFL, so maybe it's a D-, but maybe I'll give it an F+. Is that a thing?
Now it is. Just because of you, Metro. F+ for Metro. Let's go to 15. The New York Jets take Will McDonald, the 4th out of Iowa State, the outside linebacker, pass rush specialist, freak athlete with a great bend. Now, in his past 2 years, just give you some preface, right? He had 3 sacks in his rookie year and then 10.5 sacks, big number right there, in his 2024 season. But the run game has been abysmal. But Metro, if you're drafting a guy to sack the quarterback, in my eyes, I really don't give a damn what you do in the run game. He has been awesome in the pass rush. I gave this pick a B-, somewhere right in the middle. I can't play him on first or second down, but on third down, he is producing as I wished when I drafted him. What did you give for Will McDonald, the 4th?
Yeah, I gave him a B. You draft an edge rusher to get to the quarterback. Obviously, in an ideal world, you get a Jared Verse that can do everything immediately. Will has to develop to just be a capable run defender. Now, unfortunately, he's an older prospect. He's already 25, so not sure how much more development he realistically has, but at the bare minimum, you are getting somebody that is an excellent pass rusher that can get to the quarterback. He's a freak athlete. It's just he's a little bit limited on first downs or obvious run downs. So that does keep him away from that, B+ or A-. But he's just a really solid player that can get to the quarterback. And that's ultimately what you need to do in the NFL as a top 15 pick. So I gave him a B.
Very nice. B for Metro, B- for myself. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 14 overall in the first round. Taking Roderick Jones, the Georgia O-tackle. Metro, I went first last time. Take it away.
Yeah, Broderick Jones, he is now. I'm going to make a comparison here to a guy that got drafted in I think the 6th round of this year's draft. He's Cameron Williams, the Texas offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about guys that had very little playing time in college, and Broderick Jones had very little playing time in college. And he, instead of going back for another year, he came out to the draft. Obviously, it kind of worked out for him because, he got taken 14th overall. His rookie season, I thought he showed some glimpses of being kind of a special talent, like one of those different breeds. Only giving up 4 sacks, playing 700 snaps. It wasn't all perfect. He definitely made some mistakes. But last year was a rough year, to say the least. Now, granted, he was healthy, so that's good. But 10 penalties, 10 sacks allowed, 54.6 pass blocking grade, and it looked like he took a step back from last year, or from just his rookie year in general. So a little disappointing, especially because you expect a guy who's a bit of a project to every single year get better, and it felt like last year he took a step back. So I guess in a sense, you can kind of look at it one of two ways. You can look at it and say he's a bust and he's a terrible player. And what we saw last year is what we're going to see of him in the future. Or you can say he's just going to improve from this. He's still developing, and he was a project player that we have to give more time. So I'm going to look at it from an optimistic standpoint, but I can't give this grade a super high grade. So I gave it a C-.
Yes, sir. I am very close to you. I gave this pick a C. Like you said, you see regression in year 2. you never want to quite see that out of a draft pick. You want to see them at least take even a baby step forward, or at least the same thing. When those penalties start racking up, it is a thing of concern, especially in an O-lineman that you need to be very, very consistent. C is what I gave it. Metro C minus. Let's move on to our next pick, which is going to be the Green Bay Packers at 13 overall, taking Luca Van Ness, the Iowa D-end. Now, this guy, I've heard from lots of Packers fans, good and bad overall, but he hasn't quite produced like we've expected, being a pretty, I mean, we're in the middle of the first round. Like, you picking somebody at 15, you feel pretty good about them. For reference, in 2023, he picked up 4 sacks, and then in 2024, 3 sacks. So he's done something. It's not like he's done nothing on the bench. But overall, I gave this pick a C minus. I just want to see more out of Van Ness. I know it'll come, hopefully, and this team has the coaches to do it. What did you give Lucas Van Ness?
Yeah, I gave it a C. He's still technically a starter. He's still playing opposite of Rashawn Gary. He's still young enough that I think he can still develop, but I think there's pretty clearly a limited ceiling where when you looked at him at the draft, maybe there was the potential he developed to become like a really solid number 2 guy next to Rashawn Gary. I think we can kind of look at it now and say, best case scenario, he's a 6 sack a season guy that's solid against the run. But last year, he wasn't very good against the run. He's clearly limited as a pass rusher. But he's still a starter. So you can't give it a D. You can't give it an F because he's still on the team. He's still going to get playing time. 400 snaps last year. His rookie year, he had 366. So clearly the team still has trust in him. I also, correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't think the Packers took a pass rusher. At least not one in the first 2 rounds or 3 rounds.
No, sir.
So, I mean, we could be wrong. I'm pretty sure we're right, though. But they didn't seriously address the position. So clearly there is a level of faith in Lucas Van Ness. So I give it a C, but if you give it a C minus, I'm not too far away from you.
And confirming, not in the first. They took Sorrell out of Texas, but that's in the 4th round. So, like, not
could play.
addressing. Duke can play, but they're not taking serious, heavy draft capital to apply it. So they still believe in Van Ness.
Yes.
Let's move on to the Detroit Lions picking at 12. And to remember, they traded back and then up again to get this player in Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama. And on draft day, we were looking at the Lions and we're like, these guys, what's his name? Sonny Weaver. Sonny Weaver traded up for a running back and a linebacker. What the hell are they doing in the modern NFL? But Jack Campbell turned out pretty well, as we hopefully he continues to develop in his career and keeps getting better. Jahmyr Gibbs has been awesome. And I'm biased. He has been sweet, man. Jahmyr Gibbs, I had his stats up. Here they are. In 2023, he almost hit 1,000 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns, very productive. And then in his sophomore season, oh, man, 1,400 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns. And on the receiving end, he had 500 yards as well and 4 touchdowns there as well. 20 touchdowns on the year. Metro, this is an A from my end. This guy has been awesome, electric, and just a beast in the backfield, and probably Ben Johnson's favorite piece on this whole team. Amon-Ra is pretty sweet too, and so are the O-linemen. But Jahmyr Gibbs is the electricity that makes this thing go. What did you give for Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah, so this was a bit of a weaker draft where there was a lot of players that haven't really panned out. So for players that really panned out and are like fantastic players, I kind of graded them a bit on a skew. So for Jahmyr Gibbs, I gave him an A+. If you were to say, now if you were to put Jahmyr Gibbs in like last year's draft class that was really talented, maybe it's it's more like an A. But because it was just a really, I mean, we've already went through all the grades. A lot of C's, a lot of D's, an F, D's. 2 F's if you include the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
So, like, so far I've given 2 A's, and that was to Jackson Smith-Njigba and Christian Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. How many A's have you given so far? 2 as well?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we are now, almost 15, 20 some odd picks in, and we only got 2 A's. So for Jahmyr Gibbs, he is clearly worthy of the pick. And it's funny, of all the picks in the draft, this was thought to be one of the worst picks in the draft because we all thought, why are you taking Jahmyr Gibbs, a late round 1, early round 2 running back at pick 12? And he's been just awesome. He's like a top 5-ish level running back. He's so versatile. You can use him in so many different ways. He's just a great player, and he's also a great character too. He's a good guy. So A+ for me.
Good stuff. Let's go on to the next team, who's going to be the Tennessee Titans. At 11 overall, they take Peter Skoronski, the Northwestern O tackle, but he's pretty much a guard in today's NFL. Now, Skoronski, I won't last time, Metro. Take it away.
Yeah, Peter Skoronski to me it's funny. He was thought to be like one of the more safe picks of the draft, and I would say so far he hasn't really been extremely safe. Now, he hasn't been bad by no means.
No.
But last year, 76.3 pass blocking grade, but a 54.3 run block grade. Only gave up 4 sacks, had 8 penalties. Not great, especially for a guard, but not horrendous. In his rookie year, 63.5 pass blocking grade, 58.6 run block grade, only 1 penalty and 5 sacks allowed. So here's the thing. If you want to be considered a top-end guard, you got to give up like 1 sack, if even that, right? Like, for example, Zach Martin, one of the best players in NFL history, didn't give up, hardly ever gave up a sack. And that's just because, look, when you're a guard, you're going up against interior defensive linemen, and interior defensive linemen don't have as much juice. They don't have as much nuance like an edge rusher, so you expect a guard to perform a little bit better. It hasn't really fully panned out, but he also hasn't been a total bust. Like, he's still starting. He's still a good enough player. He's also pretty young. He's only 23, so there's still room for growth. I do expect him to take a nice step forward now that Cam Ward's in town. So I gave it a C+. There's definitely room for growth. But again, I think we all expected a little bit more out of him early on. Now, maybe we can put some of the blame on Will Levis as well, because Will Levis put this guy in a lot of bad situations.
Yeah, that is a very key issue. Whenever your quarterback's deciding to hold on to the ball and just rip 80-yard bombs, it takes a while for those wide receivers to get down the field. Thus, sacks can happen more. But yes, Peter Skoronski also, I gave him a B-, gave him a C+, correct, Metro?
Yeah, yes.
Very nice. B- out of me. When I look at his grades, pass blocking has been a 12th out of the league, which is pretty good, and then run blocking has been not so as great, around 107 out of 136 on the board. Now, like you mentioned, you have a very good argument. What is the point of safety in the draft when you can also take extreme upside and risk? With that, you have guys that are put in bad positions like Emmanuel Forbes, right, that we were talking about. And then also you have situations where we go back and you have guys like Will McDonald, who actually have really thrived with a bunch of upside. Will is an awesome player. At least on draft day, I didn't expect him to be taken 15th overall, but it has really worked out with the upside play. Overall, good pick. Not the all-pro we thought he was going to be, but that's okay. Getting an impact player in your team is probably the biggest goal of the draft overall. So a B- for me.
Yes, Darnell Wright, number 10.
Darnell Wright, the Chicago Bears.
Can I say something real quick?
Please.
For this grade, do we consider the fact that the Bears traded back 1 pick? I think it was 1 pick. So they didn't take Jalen Carter. They took Darnell Wright instead. Do we include that in this, or do we just grade the player? Because, look, Jalen Carter is a better player than Darnell Wright. Darnell's a good player. Jalen's better. So do we take that into account, or do we just grade who they took?
Let's take the context. I like the way you're thinking.
Or we can do 2 grades. We can do 1 with the context and just 1 as the player.
Okay. Let's do it. You start, because you got a good argument I'm hearing.
Yeah, so look, Darnell Wright as a player is a fine player. I gave him a B+ as a player because 79.3 overall grade. He has a number of sacks and penalties. I kind of think that not all of those are his fault because of how bad that offensive line was last year. So I think with an improved offensive line, I expect Darnell Wright to perform significantly better. He does need to clean up the penalties, though, because it has been a bit of an issue. But as a prospect, look, he was a developmental piece. He's come in quite nicely along. He's played 1,000 snaps last year. Definitely took a step forward. He's still only 23 years old, so he's a good prospect. I give him a B+ as a player. But when you take into account that I believe the Chicago Bears had the opportunity to take Jalen Carter, but instead I think they traded back.
This is correct.
It kind of hurts because adding Jalen Carter, who's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, is a significant upgrade for this team, and he's a lot better than Darnell Wright. So adding the context into it, I will give it a C+, because you could have had an A+ pick in Jalen Carter. Instead, you got a B+. So when you add in the context of who they could have had, I got to give it a B+, or C+. But as a pure player, Darnell Wright's a good guy, so B+.
Well said, brother. I maybe not the contrary, but I really do like Darnell Wright. Yes, he's not the best right tackle in the entire league, but the guy can play. He had a 16th overall grade in the entire league, 7th in run blocking, 35th in pass blocking. I did give this an A. I'm always for getting really solid tackles on your O-line because it gets way harder in the back of the first round. Lucky for the Bears, though, they don't pick in the back of the first round very much, so they can take their time. I'm kidding, that's mean. But Darnell Wright is an awesome player. A really good pick right here for the that was mean. Really good pick right here for the Bears. But Jalen Carter, like you mentioned, I mean, just an exceptional talent. Yes, when we take it back to what was going on, there was some serious concerns. I get it. Maybe that's just not what their team is about, because at the time, I think it was the driving incident. Am I correct? Or
I think so. He had character concerns. He had I believe an incident with some sort of accident. But
yeah,
I mean, just the player though.
I know it's hard.
I mean, he was consensus number one pick type guy. Like outside of the quarterbacks, he was the next guy up.
You're right.
And I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm going to give this an A, though, at the end of the day. And then if I had to factor in the Jalen Carter thing, B+. I still like the move. If it's not what your building's about, I understand. But yes.
Yeah.
Going on to the next pick, number 9, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, man. Every single time they get
Every
time. They came out of this draft with Nolan Smith and, of course, the defensive tackle or just presence in the middle of the field, Jalen Carter out of Georgia. This is the guy who slid on the board, and of course the Eagles go up and get him. Similar to this year, you have Campbell slide down the board, the linebacker, and they go up one pick to get their guy. They did the same thing here with Jalen Carter. They get the guys they want on their defense. Metro, for me, A+. I don't think you need me to talk about this much more. Yes, for his stats, he wasn't doing a bunch of 2023. I believe he was hurt, or did I read that wrong? My information could be incorrect. I thought he had a phenomenal 2024 season like most did. He has been a major impact player on this defense.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we're grading a little bit on a skew because this was not a extremely talented draft, at least in retrospect. So I also gave it an A+. Statistically speaking, he has not been like overly dominant, but when you watch the tape, you watch the film, this dude is just making plays every single time he's out there, whether it's getting to the quarterback, putting pressure on quarterback, stuffing the run, being a menace, just being absolutely an impossible guy to move up the middle. And I think he's a big reason as to why the Eagles won that championship last year. So I give it an A+. It's super hard to find dominant interior defensive linemen that are going to be on your team for years to come. He's only 24. Like, this dude is going to be a staple of this Eagles defensive line for the foreseeable future. And to get him at pick 9 is just insane. So I give it an A+.
Good stuff. Let's go to number 8. We have the Falcons. They just love picking at 8. Bijan Robinson goes off the board, the running back out of Texas. Metro is very familiar with Texas. Metro, what did you give for Bijan Robinson?
I've been following Bijan since high school. That sounds a little weird. Now,
what have you been doing, Metro?
For context, I was also, was I in high school when he was in high school? I don't know. Anyways, but I've been watching his film since high school.
Same age.
Are we? I'm 22. Bijan.
I think I'm the same age.
Yeah, Bijan's also like 22, 23. He's not that old.
Okay, then you're the same age.
Yeah, so.
You're good, brother.
I've been watching him since high school.
That's right.
Anyways.
Put your foot down.
Bijan is a stud. Man, when he was at Texas, this dude was just, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a player have the stop and go ability of a Bijan. And man, he went to Atlanta, which was a weird spot too, because they already had Tyler Algier, who was coming off, I want to say 1,000 yards or was coming off a really solid year. So it was a weird spot for him to land. And his rookie year was bizarre in a sense where it was like, why is Bijan not playing more? There was a game where he didn't play at all, and I don't think anyone really knew why. But last year, he took the big step forward. New head coach is in there. They know what is up. They know, hey, get the ball to the guy that is probably the most talented player on the team. I gave this one an A. Again, I don't really care too much about positional value. However, Jalen Carter was on the board there, and Atlanta really could use an interior defensive lineman more so than a running back. But, man, Bijan's a stud. He is just a good culture fit. He's a good player. He fits so nicely with that team, and, man, Bijan, he could win Offensive Player of the Year next year, and I would not be shocked. So I give it an A.
Heck yeah. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. At 7 overall, they take Tyree Wilson, the defensive end of the Texas Tech. Guys, 6'6", 271. Tyree Wilson had crazy draft hype at the time. For my grade, I gave him a C-. Yes, in his rookie year, it was not what we expected. I understand. But if you look at his grades in 2024, he did take a step up. Out of 200 defensive ends, he graded 29th in actually run defense, which is pretty damn solid. And then 130th in pass rush. Still has not come through there. Overall grade of 72 out of all the DNs. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, it's not where we want it. We've seen improvement, though. That's what we want to see out of your second year D end. I get a C-. Metro, what did you think about Tyree Wilson?
I also gave it a C-. For me, while I am seeing steps being taken forward, I still think there's a lot of development that needs to happen. I always felt like he was very overdrafted. I didn't think he was the top 10 player, more so like top 15, top 20. He got taken 7th. And I thought it was a good fit because you already had Max Crosby, but they've kind of had a hard time figuring him out because he's this really big, lengthy dude, but he can kind of play multiple positions where he can be an interior defensive lineman, but he can also play off the edge. So he's just been kind of hard to figure out on this team. For me, the reason why this grade is so low is when you draft a guy top 10, you kind of have to hit on the pick. And they didn't, at least so far, they have not hit on the pick. And you look at the next 3 players that were taken, they could really use a running back like Bijan. They could really use an interior defensive lineman like Jalen Carter, because if they had Jalen Carter, they wouldn't have went out there and picked Christian Wilkins and his massive contract. Darnell Wright, they could use an offensive tackle. Hell, even a Jahmyr Gibbs a few picks later. So all those really talented and good players were taken right after Tyree Wilson. And yeah, so there's still room to grow. He's not a total bust. He still has a lot of talent, potential, good size. But yeah, for now, C-. You just definitely want to see him kind of put it all together in the upcoming season.
Heck yeah. Let's go to the next team. We have the Arizona Cardinals at 6. And further reminder, in the Jared Goff trade, this was the Rams' pick at 6 overall. Went to Detroit. Detroit was sitting here at 6 overall. They trade back with the Cardinals. The Cardinals come up and get Paris Johnson Jr., the Ohio State O-tackle. Metro, you know how I am about my O-tackles. This guy's been phenomenal. Metro, but you grade him because I went first last time. I'm getting too excited. You go on ahead.
Yeah, so this is one of those players that I had this preconceived notion of him not being great. And then for the research for this video, I went back, and because I don't really watch a lot of Cardinals games, just for full transparency. Fair. And when I do, I'm watching Kyler, Marvin, those guys. So I came back, and I sat there and watched Paris Johnson's film, and I came away feeling really good about him. I gave him a B+. His rookie season left a little bit to be desired. Last year, still struggled with some penalty issues, but only gave up 4 sacks, has an 80.8 overall grade, 73.8 run block, 78.1 pass blocking grade. I thought he looked a lot better last year. He looked a little bit more comfortable, was put in better situations. He's 23 years old, so this Cardinals team has this guy for the foreseeable future. Just stay healthy, continue to develop, and he'll be one of the best tackles out there. So I gave it a B+. You could talk me into an A as well.
Well said, brother. I gave him an A, like you mentioned, in his rookie season. Looked good, not great. Took the next step in 2024, graded 12th out of all tackles in the NFL. I think he will only get better. Like you said, he's extremely young. This is what this offense needs, a slam dunk pick, in my opinion, at 6 overall. Next, we have, at 5, the Seattle Seahawks take Devon Witherspoon, the Illinois cornerback. Oh, man, what a force to be reckoned with. Let's go back to the time. Seahawks take Devon Witherspoon at 5 overall. Lions were at 6. They wanted him bad because they traded all the way back to 12, something to be mentioned. I'm a firm believer that if he was there on the board, the Lions are doing anything they can do to get this guy. But none of that. I'm just a Lions fan, so I know all these weird things. But yes, Devon Witherspoon has been awesome for the Seattle Seahawks. In 2023, he came out on the scene and had a pretty great year, graded 5th out of all corners. I mean, it's hard to do better than that, folks. And you go to 2024, graded 20th. And where he's best, Metro, as you know, in the run defense, he doesn't play around. He can make the tackle. He can be a physical force on that defense. I gave this pick an A+. You get one of the best corners in my eyes in the league, and he can help in all assets of the game, even the run defense when you need him. What did you give Witherspoon? Because I'm very high on him for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep, I also gave it an A+. Corner is an extremely difficult position, and Devon Witherspoon can play multiple positions. He could play on the nickel. He could play on the outside. I kind of think he'd be a damn good safety if you ever needed him to play safety. But he is just an absolute menace. He's 5'11", 180 pounds, But this dude hits like he's not Cam Chancellor, but he kind of hits sometimes like Cam Chancellor. Like this dude is just not afraid of contact. He's a bully. He's mean. He's nasty. But damn, he's just a really nice player. And to get him at pick 5 was just good value. He's one of the best players of this draft, so I gave him an A+. He is a cornerstone piece for the Seahawks defense to build around.
Like you mentioned, he's not Cam Chancellor, but guys, he hits like him. I know there's some kid making TikToks for the Seattle Seahawks where he does like the hit from Cam, flip the Witherspoon, because that's going to be so sweet. And if you haven't done it, go ahead and do it. That'd be a sweet edit. Let's go to the next team, who's going to be the Colts. How can we forget it? They take Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida. And it has been eventful. He gets tired on some drives, and sometimes he's throwing 80-yard bombs. And you're like,
yep,
holy shit, who is this guy? Metro, what did you give for the quarterback out of Florida?
So I'm going to give him a low grade, but I want to preface this by saying I am one of the few people in this world that I am carrying the flag of Anthony Richardson like I'm doing for the Cardinals, like I'm doing for the Cowboys. I might be the last person out there, but I am 100% still bought in with Anthony Richardson. I refuse, and maybe this is a bad thing. Maybe I should just give up with this guy, but I refuse to give up on him. I gave him a D+ because so far, being the 4th overall pick, he has not been worth it. Constantly injured. When he's been out there, has struggled with consistency. Completion percentage was below 50 this year, which is just not good enough. But, man, this dude, if he could put it all together, man, he is going to be something special. Like, some of the throws this guy makes it's incredible. Like, it's like if you were to just do a mixtape of the greatest plays of Anthony Richardson and take everything else you know about him, if you just watched that video, you'd probably think this was like the greatest player of all time. Like, that's some of the stuff that he's done.
It's fair, yeah.
But then you put all the puzzle pieces together and you realize, ooh, this guy's he's a hit or miss guy. He either makes a big play or he's making a dumb play or he's walking on the sideline saying he's tired. So, man, I'm going to believe in him. I have faith in him. I also have faith in this Colts team in general. I could be wrong, and I might have to eat my words, and I'll own up to it. If he sucks this upcoming year and gets benched for Daniel Jones, I'll be the first person to come out here and say, I was wrong. But for now, I got a flag. I should probably get like a jersey right there of all the teams that I have like holding the flag for. I need a Cardinals jersey,
you do.
Cowboys, and I need an Anthony Richards. I need them signed too. I should.
You should.
We should send this to Anthony, and
I still believe in you. And he's like, what did people don't believe in me?
I know. Imagine.
Well, you
hey man, I still believe in you. Will you sign this for me? He's like, no, I'm not.
Hell no.
But yeah, D+.
D+. Really well said, brother. Yeah, AR. I mean, I think it's crazy how you could have a quarterback. You could have Bryce Young. You could have AR, and they're like, oh, they play the same position. But they play it extremely differently. Like Metro mentioned, this guy has a rocket arm. I mean, he lets balls fly, and you're like, that wasn't real. That was Joe Milton-esque, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, obviously. AR gave it a D+. We just need to see more, and I wish a team like a Sean McVay and the Rams would be like, hey, here's a 3rd-round pick. Don't worry about it. We'll take him. He's only got like 2.5 years left on the contract, pending a 5-year deal, correct, with his extension. That would be the best scenario for him. If he goes to an awesome coach, this will work out. On today's track with Daniel Dones in the building, I don't think it will. But we're rooting for him. Metro's got the flag, so do I. AR, we hope it works out. Let's go to the Houston Texans at 3. They trade back up. This was a wild one. The Cardinals have this pick I've never seen personally in my lifetime, or at least I forgot because I'm getting old. The Cardinals trade back from 3, and they go to 12, and then they come up with the Lions and get Paris Johnson Jr., a crazy draft day. But the Texans get back-to-back picks at 2 and 3. They get Will Anderson Jr., the old outside linebacker out of Alabama, and he has been exceptional. In his first season, he had a grade of 2023. He was rated 23rd D-end out of all of the edge rushers, and then he was graded 10th this year. This guy has been an absolute monster. 11 sacks on the 2024 year. I gave this grade an A. When you trade up like this, it is a statement, and it has worked out greatly for the Texans defense. What do you have for our man, Will Anderson?
It's kind of funny when you're talking about it, I was just going down this rabbit hole of like, the Cleveland Browns didn't have a pick for the first 2 rounds. And it's starting to kind of check out why the Browns are where the Browns are at. Yeah, I'm like, where were the Browns at within this draft? Like, who did they trade for? I'm assuming it was the Deshaun Watson trade that probably led to all this, which is how the Texans were able to get this pick. But it just kind of tells you, like, man, if you make a bad mistake like a Deshaun Watson trade, you end up taking Cedric Tillman in round 3 as your first overall pick. Complete side tangent there. Who, the Texans?
Yeah, when I click
or the Browns,
Cleveland. When I read Jahmyr Gibbs, it says from Cleveland through Houston and Arizona. So
I think that has to be Deshaun Watson pick.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, crazy. Will Anderson though, he's an A for me. It's the only reason why it's an A and not an A plus is because I don't know if he's like generational, like this guy's the next GOAT, or anything like that. Like we're already having those conversations with like Micah, which I think, probably not worthy of that quite yet, but we haven't had those conversations with Will Anderson yet. With that said, he's a freak of nature. He's a stud. He's a leader in the locker room. He's incredible against the pass. He gets to the quarterback constantly. He's good against the run. It's just hard to find talents like that in the draft, and the Texans take a big swing, and they got a hit in this one. So it was a good pickup for them. I gave this one an A.
Heck yeah. Texans, speak of the devil, back picking at 2 because they traded up for number 3. They get C.J. Stroud, the quarterback out of Ohio State. And Metro, what did you think about this pick at number 2 for the quarterback and C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I feel like I might get some criticism for this one, but I'm only going to give it an A, not an A plus. I know I might get some flack for that, but my thought process is I thought he had an incredible rookie year. I thought last year he took a bit of a step back. I don't necessarily think it was all his fault, but I do think there were certain things that he could have done better. This is another kind of little side tangent here. I kind of feel like Houston's not really doing the best job of building a team around CJ, especially at that offensive line. The rest of that Texans team is super talented. And in the draft, you bring in 2 new receivers, but that offensive line, man, you would think with the contract that CJ's on that they would have a better offensive line, but they haven't really put it together yet. And they brought in some new pieces. I mean, look at a team like Chicago that had a huge issue at offensive line. Yes, they had Darnell Wright, but really nothing outside of that. And within one offseason, you bring in 3 guys, you also draft somebody, and that offensive line went from being one of the worst in the league to maybe like a top 10 unit next year. For Houston, you've had a chance now for the past, really 3 years since Stroud's been in the league, and they haven't really done it yet. They haven't really put the pieces together to put together a good offensive line in front of him. So that's a little side tangent. As a player, as a prospect, C.J. Stroud is a great quarterback prospect. He's going to be top 10 in the league at some point, if not already. And the Houston Texans got themselves a good one. Back-to-back A's for the Houston Texans.
Very nice. I'm going to give it a B plus personally, which is probably even more unpopular. Very strange. What we saw in year 2 is what you see without a lot of quarterbacks, right? They get tape on you, they study you, they learn your tendencies. But also, C.J. Stroud, like you mentioned, has had a pretty boo-boo O-line, and they only made it worse trading away Laramie Tunsil, their left tackle. That was the only thing that worked, and they got rid of him. So I think Stroud has been a very good player, especially his rookie year. I'm very curious to say, that's like chicken or the egg, is it? The O-line's obviously bad, but some really good quarterbacks that are truly top 10 can overcome those O-lines. So I want to see it. I know he's a pocket passer. I want to see it really develop, and him being an awesome player like we all think he was, especially in his rookie year. Looking forward to year 3 for C.J. Stroud. I think it's going to be a little bit more of year 2 personally, just because of the O-line situation. Hopefully by year 4, we're like, this dude is the guy we expected all along, but a more hesitant B plus for me. That'd be a little bit rough.
Yeah. Number 1, Bryce Young. This should be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Panthers, number 1 overall. Take Bryce Young. They give Chicago, the farm. Metro, do you mind if I let you talk while I pull this trade just so we can compare everything?
Yes, Bryce Young has been on a roller coaster. His rookie season was rough, and I don't think it was all his fault. The team around him was not very good at all. And then in 2024, the offseason leading to last year, they bring in some new offensive linemen. They bring in a new receiver in Leggett, and it was rough in the beginning, like very rough. He sat on the bench. They benched him. Comes back, And all of a sudden, Bryce Young looked like a totally different dude. Like he was good to end the year. So it's tough to grade this one because on one side, we've seen a year and a half of really not great, tape. And then like 8 weeks of Bryce Young looking like the guy that was at Alabama. This Panthers team has done a really nice job of building a roster around him. You bring in Ted McMillan. You have some good running backs. The O-line is solid. I gave it a C+, but it's one of those picks where if next year he goes out there and balls, sweet, A. If he goes out there and sucks next year, then this is an F because it's the number 1 pick, and they traded a lot to get him.
Well said, brother. This trade, Panthers get Bryce Young. The Bears get DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, Caleb Williams, Torrey Taylor, the punter, obviously.
Oh, man.
And then Luther Burden the third. I think it's clear who won the trade, but we can't base the grade off that, correct? That just has to be put in there for context. The grade on Bryce Young, like you said, that game against Kansas City he had last year was huge because people were watching KC, obviously, and they're like, oh, Bryce ain't too bad. He's kind of cooking.
He was cooking.
He was cooking, man. They did not win that game, I'm pretty sure, but it just showed that the talent was there. From there, that season changed, man. He turned it around, like you mentioned. I give us a C+ as well. You mentioned you have your flag up for AR. My flag is up for Bryce Young. Do I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback? No, but I want to see him be a franchise quarterback for the Panthers. He's got a great attitude about it. I've never seen anyone bounce back quite like he has. And I'm looking forward to 2025. He's probably the number 1 guy I'm watching in 2025 for positive reasons. It's going to be a fun one. And that is those are all our grades for 2023. To review, I'm just kidding. I'm not going through every single pick. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of content, go drop a like down below. It helps set a ton and the algorithm. Thank you very much. And what picks did you like or dislike? Comment that down below. What would you change? Where would you actually grade these guys? Let us know in the comments. Guys, we're going to be here all summer long, every single Monday and every single Thursday, bringing y'all awesome NFL content throughout the off season. Go subscribe down below for more stuff just like this. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Have the best day. Metro, get us out of here.
Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.